Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And honestly, nothing says relationship growth like voluntarily signing up to question your entire future on national television.
It is literally the ultimate act of romantic delusion. You are essentially looking at the person you claim to love most in the world and saying, I love you so much, let's play emotional Russian roulette with our shared lease and just see who flinches first.
Exactly. And because tonight requires immense patience, heavy emotional support, and like a ridiculous amount of carbohydrates to process the psychological chaos we just witnessed, I have our pasta night cocktails fully prepped and on deck. We're going to eat every single drop.
Oh, cheers to that, bestie. And a massive toast directly to you, our Snark Squad, for joining us in the trenches of reality television. We absolutely could not do this without you guys.
We really couldn't. But speaking of pasta night, before we get into the heavy relationship trauma, we need to have a very serious conversation about our recent pasta making class.
Oh, no. Are we exposing ourselves right now?
We have to. Because I walked into that culinary studio fully expecting to, seamlessly channel my inner Italian grandma. I thought I was going to be effortlessly tossing dough in the air, sipping a beautiful Chianti, laughing gorgeously in a pristine white apron.
The level of delusion was staggering, honestly. Because we walked in there, the instructor handed us, raw eggs and a literal mound of flour.
Yes.
And within, maybe 14 minutes, I realized that making pasta from scratch is not a romantic, leisurely date night activity. It is back-breaking manual labor.
It's an Olympic sport.
It is a full upper body workout that requires the forearm strength of a medieval blacksmith. I was sweating.
The flour. Bestie, the flour got absolutely everywhere. It was in my hair. It was coating my eyelashes like some kind of terrifying culinary mascara.
You look like a ghost.
I found flour inside my shoes 3 days later. And let's not gloss over the incredibly petty debate we had over who was actually better at following the instructor's highly specific directions.
Well, there was no debate, because the evidence was right there on the cutting board. My flour well was perfectly constructed. It had structural integrity.
Right.
Your well of flour collapsed almost immediately, babe. The egg breached the perimeter, and it was an absolute disaster zone on your station.
Yeah.
You were frantically trying to rescue raw egg yolk with a bench scraper while I was already smoothly kneading my dough.
Okay, look, my egg breach was a minor structural failure. It could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
But the funniest part to me is the psychology of how you take one single cooking class and suddenly becomes your entire personality for the next month.
Oh, 100%.
Like, we left that class and suddenly we are at the grocery store critiquing the texture of store-bought rigatoni like we are Michelin-starred chefs.
We are officially pasta experts now. That is just our reality. We know the hydration ratios. But, my delusion isn't just limited to the kitchen. We also have to talk about the absolute delusion of the summer beach stroll.
Oh, please do. Because in theory, a sunset beach walk sounds so incredibly peaceful. You picture the sound of the crashing waves, the gentle ocean breeze, the seagulls flying overhead.
You think it's going to be this centering meditative experience?
Right. But in reality, you get down to the sand, you look around, and you realize that literally everyone else on this beach looks like they belong in a high-end fitness commercial.
Yes. Why is everyone so fit?
How is everyone else effortlessly glowing?
Oh.
I'm out there sweating profusely. My hair is stuck to my face with this combination of humidity and salt spray. And I look over, and there are people jogging in the soft sand, mind you, like they are in an 80s movie training montage.
And they aren't even breathing hard. It's sick.
They all have that perfect dewy sheen. It makes you wonder, are sunscreen and unearned confidence the secret ingredients to life? Because I clearly forgot to apply both before leaving the house.
It's deeply intimidating, which, to be fair, completely tracks with my current era. Because I'm officially on this massive health girl kick right now.
You are. The morning walks, the elaborate routines. You are out here genuinely trying to be a wellness influencer.
I really am trying to optimize my life. I've been doing the 1-hour morning walks, drinking the green juice that tastes, frankly, mildly of dirt.
Mostly of dirt, let's be honest.
Mostly dirt, yeah. The whole 9 yards.
And I am so endlessly supportive of this journey. I love this for you. From the absolute comfort of my couch.
Under
a very heavy blanket.
As you should be.
Because realistically, we have to ask, is a 1-hour morning walk actually self-care? Or is it a psychological prison sentence you impose on yourself before 8 a.m. to feel superior?
I mean, some mornings it absolutely feels like a prison sentence, I will not lie to you. But the real chaos, the absolute peak of this health girl era is Pilates.
Oh my God, the Pilates chaos. Please explain the mechanics of this to the Snark Squad because I absolutely refuse to go.
It is the shaking. It's the uncontrollable, deep tissue, full body tremors. They strap you into this medieval torture device called a reformer. They put you in these impossible pretzel poses, and you are supposed to just pretend you're completely zen.
Right, you have to look so calm.
You have to maintain this serene facial expression. Meanwhile, every single muscle fiber in your core is screaming, fighting for its absolute life, and you are vibrating like a tuning fork.
The gap between wanting a healthy lifestyle and actually doing the healthy lifestyle is a massive, echoing canyon.
It really is.
But my real question for you, babe, is this. Are you really going to maintain this pristine, green juice morning walk routine when reality TV season hits its absolute peak?
That is aggressive of you to ask.
Because I don't see it happening. Once the on-screen emotional breakdowns start, that green juice turns into wine so fast.
Look, I am taking it one day at a time, but when the interpersonal drama gets heavy, the wellness routine gets fragile. That is a documented scientific fact.
Exactly. But babes, enough about our pasta careers, beach delusions, and our questionable fitness journeys. Let's get into the ultimatum, where people come in looking for answers and somehow leave with even more questions.
Let's do it, because these first 3 episodes are an absolute masterclass in commitment issues, emotional chaos, and just straight-up romantic confusion. I am spiraling.
Okay, first of all, we have to talk about the sheer absurdity of the cast and the premise this season. Nick and Vanessa Lachey stand up there on that rooftop, looking out at these incredibly broken couples, acting like this is a genuine, heavily researched therapeutic exercise.
Right. They deliver these lines with such solemn gravity, like, oh, you are here to discover yourselves. You are here to look in the mirror.
No, you aren't.
No, you are here to participate in chaotic, profit-driven trash television, and we all know it. Stop dressing it up as couples counseling. If this were real couples counseling, there wouldn't be dramatic string music and unlimited alcohol at the pool mixers.
And the casting. Bestie, please explain the age gaps to me this season. Why do we have literal 23-year-olds in the exact same marital experiment as 38-year-olds?
It makes 0 sense, structurally or psychologically. A 23-year-old's definition of marriage and commitment is fundamentally biologically different from someone staring down 40.
It's a completely different life stage.
Exactly. You're putting people who are basically fresh out of college, who probably still have their parents paying their cell phone bills, in the exact same dating pool as people who are genuinely worried about their biological clocks and their aging parents' health. The stakes are completely mismatched. It is designed to fail.
It is entirely designed for the mess. You can't have a 23-year-old trying to relate to a 38-year-old's timeline.
So let's look at these couples thematically, because I have thoughts, I have deep feelings, and I have immediate judgments.
Bring him on.
Let's start with the theme of the sunk cost fallacy. This brings us directly to Casey and David. Casey's 34, David is 33, they've been together for 5 years, and she issued the ultimatum. And we have to look at why she issued it. The sunk cost fallacy is, the idea that you continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of previously invested resources. Casey has invested half a decade of her prime years into this man.
5 whole years.
They own a business together, they own a home together, they have dogs together. They are financially and domestically entangled in every conceivable way, and yet David refuses to give her an actual engagement ring. Instead, he has given her 3 promise rings.
I am so incredibly sympathetic to Casey here. I wanted to reach through the screen and give her the biggest hug. 5 years. You are acting like a married couple in every financial and logistical way. You are doing the taxes together.
Right.
But he is stringing you along with the equivalent of Claire's accessories.
Let's analytically break down David's logic here, because it is wild avoidance masquerading as depth. He says he won't commit to a marriage because his parents divorced and remarried multiple times, so he has deep childhood trauma around the institution of marriage.
Which is so common on this show.
Sure, childhood trauma is valid, but his solution to this trauma is to just hand her a stack of promise rings. What is the psychological mechanism there? What does a 3rd promise ring even mean? Like, I promise that I still remember the first 2 promises I made you, but still have no intention of following through?
It's insulting. It's basically breadcrumbing.
It is the exact definition of breadcrumbing. It is a mechanism of intermittent reinforcement. He gives her just enough of a shiny object to keep her attached and hopeful without ever actually providing the security she is asking for. It's exactly like the infamous ring on a string that Tom Schwartz gave Katie on Vanderpump Rules.
Oh my God, yes. The ring on a string.
It's a shut-up ring. It's designed to buy time and silence her completely valid needs without offering any actual legal or emotional security.
Spot on. It's like renting an apartment, and every time the lease is up, instead of letting you buy the place, the landlord just prints out a slightly prettier copy of the exact same lease. You don't own anything.
That is a perfect analogy.
Okay, next up, let's look at the theme of the corporate checklist versus emotional safety. This brings us to Hayley and Blake. Hayley is 23, Blake is 26. They've only been together for a year and a half, and Blake is the one who issued the ultimatum.
Let's unpack Blake for a second. He's 26, and he treats the concept of marriage like it's a corporate checklist. He's achieved his early career goals, and now he looks at his clipboard and says, yes, next action item, acquire wife and produce 5 to 6 children immediately.
5 to 6 kids. Hayley is 23 years old. I defend her completely here. I know she gets a lot of hate on Twitter and whatever, but she's telling him over and over that her emotional needs are not being met. She is literally saying, I do not feel emotionally safe with you.
And he just stares at her.
Yes. She wants a deeper connection before she commits to literally birthing a baseball team.
I agree with her hesitation. Her internal alarm bells are ringing for a reason. When someone wants you to fulfill a role rather than loving you as an individual, you can feel that emptiness. But we also have to analytically admit that Hayley's communication style is terrifying.
Okay, yeah, she has a lot.
She describes their dynamic as fire and ice, but her version of fire is incredibly aggressive. When she gets mad, she is volatile, she lashes out. It's a classic anxious avoidant trap. She gets anxious and loud to force a reaction, and he gets icy and silent to protect himself. It's a highly toxic dynamic.
It is messy. But speaking of toxic dynamics, let's look at Monica and Luke. Monica's 28, Luke is 30, 5 years together, and Luke issued the ultimatum, which is pretty rare for the guys on this show.
Luke is hopelessly obsessed with this woman. He literally said on camera that he would die without her. It borders on severe codependency. He has wrapped his entire identity and self-worth into whether or not Monica chooses him.
It's sad to watch. And Monica, she is self-proclaimed high maintenance. She says she wants her finances and her career perfectly aligned before she gets married, which, as a modern woman, I respect the hustle. We love financial independence. But bestie, 5 years in.
Let's be real about the psychology of the career alignment excuse. If you are deeply in love with someone after 5 years, you figure the money out together. Marriage is about building that foundation as a team.
Exactly.
If you are stalling because your career isn't perfect, you aren't waiting for a promotion. You are waiting to see if a better romantic option comes along once you level up. It's hypergamy. Monica is keeping Luke in the waiting room. She likes the security of his devotion, but she doesn't respect him enough to commit to him.
Oof. That is a harsh read, but probably so true. It hurts to watch him look at her with hard eyes while she looks at him like he's an unpaid intern.
It really does.
Now let's pivot to the theme of projection and betrayal. Ashley and Killian. Ashley is 26, Killian is 29. They've been together for 4 years, but they've known each other for 14 years. They met as competitive cheerleaders.
The history there is incredibly deep, but the family drama is even deeper. Killian apparently asked Ashley's dad for his blessing, got it, and then completely lost it after some mysterious altercation between Killian and the dad.
What happened in that altercation? I need the production crew to release the tapes. I need the Ring camera footage. I need the transcripts.
We need a whole spin-off just for that.
But wait, it gets worse. Killian has admitted to cheating on Ashley in the past, and they are supposedly working through it by Ashley having the passcode to his phone.
Yes, the passcode. The ultimate illusion of control. Handing over your phone passcode is like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole of broken trust.
Totally.
It doesn't actually rebuild the trust, it just turns the betrayed partner into a probation officer. If you have to check someone's phone every night to feel safe, you are not in a romantic relationship, babe. You are in a surveillance state.
That is such a brilliant way to put it. You are literally doing detective work instead of dating. And can we talk about the sheer amount of shade we need to throw at the other men on this show regarding Ashley? The second the couple split up for the mixers, men like Idris and Blake are immediately in their confessionals talking about Ashley's physical assets.
Idris literally used the word bosom. Who says bosom in the year 2026?
It was so creepy.
It was incredibly objectifying. They weren't looking at her as a potential life partner. They were looking at her like she was a prize on a game show. It highlights how quickly these men drop the facade of seeking a deep connection the second a physically attractive woman walks into their eyeline.
Gross. It's Speaking of gross, let's talk about Idris and Jessica Grace. JG is 35, Idris is 38, together 2 years. JG issued the ultimatum because her dad's health is failing and she wants him to see her get married before they have kids. She has a very real, very poignant timeline.
In Idris's defense for not marrying her, he claimed she broke his boundaries 6 times. And what were these massive betrayals of his trust? She was high-fiving guys at the gym.
I cannot. I literally cannot. You are a 38-year-old man holding a multi-year grudge over a gym high five. Are we in middle school?
It is classic deflection. He is using microscopic, absurd grievances to justify his massive fear of commitment. If he points the finger at her for high-fiving a spotter at Equinox, he doesn't have to look at his own inability to step up as a partner.
It's pathetic.
And Aegis is fascinating because he acts completely spaced out the entire time. He uses dissociation as a defense mechanism. He's just sipping LaCroix, staring blankly into the middle distance while people pour their hearts out to him. And then he talks to Hayley at the pool party, and out of nowhere asks her if she has any burnt marks, and follows it up by asking if she's Hispanic.
It was the most bizarre, out-of-pocket conversation. Hayley was looking at him like he had 3 heads. Idris is operating on a completely different frequency, and it's not a frequency that involves emotional intimacy.
Not at all. Now, brace yourself. We have to talk about the final theme, which I am calling weaponized incompetence and the emasculated narcissist.
Oh, I am ready.
We have to talk about Alex and Jebin, both 23, together for 6 years.
Heavy, heavy shade required here. We need to dim the studio lights for the amount of shade I am about to throw at this man. Jibin is a walking, talking, breathing red flag wrapped in caution tape.
He is the absolute pinnacle of the man-child. Let's look at the facts and the psychology here. They've been together since they were 17. Jabin's traditional Indian family refuses to accept Alex because she isn't Indian, to the point where she isn't even allowed at family events.
In Jabin's defense, he tells her directly to her face that he has to accept her first before his family can. You've been dating her for 6 years. Since high school, what is left to accept?
Nothing.
You know her favorite color, you know her sleep schedule. What more data do you need?
He uses his family's cultural expectations as a shield for his own cowardice. He is a 23-year-old boy who wears flashy Louis Vuitton belts, calls himself the prize, and openly tells the cameras that in his trial marriage, he just wants his new wife to act like his new mom and cook and clean for him while he sleeps.
Wisely sleeps.
He wants the benefits of a 1950s traditional wife, but he brings 0 of the 1950s traditional provider energy to the table. He wants a domestic servant he can sleep with.
It makes my blood boil. The audacity of calling yourself a prize when you don't even know how to do your own laundry. And then the absolute peak comedy of this man's existence. He decides he needs to bulk up and gain weight for the show, probably because his fragile ego is threatened by guys like Killian. So what does he do? He starts drinking a literal gallon of milk a day.
Only to discover in real time on national television that he is severely lactose intolerant.
I was crying laughing.
The graphic bathroom issues he described to the women he was trying to date at the mixers. I mean, the lack of self-awareness is astounding. His body was physically rejecting his attempt to fake an alpha male bulk, just like his mind rejects any form of emotional maturity.
It is justice. It is poetic, lactose-induced justice. Okay, so those are our original couples. They say their tearful goodbyes, they hand over the useless promise rings and the real rings, and they head into the speed dating and the cocktail mixers.
The pool party and cocktail mixers were immediate behavioral studies. You instantly saw true colors coming out the second the original partners were out of sight. Let's look at David. David, who spent the entire intro claiming to love Casey so much, who claimed he couldn't commit because of deep, paralyzing childhood trauma, immediately zeroes in on Monica. He completely drops his guarded, traumatized act because he sees an incredibly attractive blonde woman who isn't currently demanding a ring from him.
The trauma miraculously healed itself the second a hot girl paid attention to him. It's a medical marvel. He practically sprinted away from Casey's memory. It proved that his wall wasn't made of trauma, it was made of pure avoidance.
Exactly.
And then at the evening cocktail mixer, we get the explosive fight between Hayley and Blake.
Let's break down the mechanics of this fight because it's fascinating. All the guys walk into the mixer, and naturally most of them walk over to their original partners, give them a quick hug, maybe a peck on the cheek to establish safety, and then go mingle.
Which is normal.
Right. Blake walks in, completely ignores Hayley, looks right past her, and goes straight to the bar to talk to other women.
Which, honestly, I totally empathize with Hayley here. Put yourself in her shoes. You are in this incredibly vulnerable, weird, socially terrifying experiment. You see every other man in the room, acknowledge their partner, validate their existence, and your guy just ghosts you in the room. Feeling discarded in that moment is totally valid.
Her feeling of abandonment is absolutely valid. Yes, I give you that. But her reaction, the way she handles it, she corners him by the bar and says, if you don't have an ounce of jealousy, you don't love me. That is toxic logic. Jealousy does not equal love. Jealousy equals insecurity. She is demanding that he perform toxicity to prove his affection.
No, it doesn't equal love. You're right.
Yeah.
But he was so clinically oblivious to her emotional state, which is exactly why she brought him there in the first place. He treats her like an employee he just laid off.
True. He lacks empathy and she lacks regulation. But all of this mixer drama pales in comparison to what happens next. We move into episodes 2 and 3, which center around the most chaotic choice ceremony in the history of this franchise.
The choice dinner. Where do we even begin? Let's start with the secret note. Jabin, our lactose-intolerant Louis Vuitton prize, decides he wants to circumvent the producers and the microphones.
Right. Because Alex was forming a genuine connection with Killian. Killian was actually listening to her, treating her with respect, and Jabin's fragile, narcissistic ego couldn't handle it. But instead of having an adult conversation on camera like he legally contracted to do, he tries to control the narrative off camera. He slips Alex a folded-up note in secret under the table.
But Nick Lachey is always watching.
Always.
Production catches it. Nick confiscates the note right at the dinner table and forces Alex to read it aloud to the entire cast. It was like a teacher catching you passing notes in study hall, but with infinitely higher stakes.
It was magnificent television, but it was also a glaring look into emotional abuse. The note is just aggressive, profanity-laced garbage. He writes, "I'm not freaking doing this, you're into him." He completely attacks her character and tries to shame her just because she was participating in the exact premise of the show that he dragged her onto.
The gaslighting. He gets furious at her for doing what they literally signed up to do. He wanted her to sit in a corner and pine for him to stroke his ego. So Nick rightfully kicks Jebin off the show for violating the communication rules and being openly toxic. Which, celebrate, pop the champagne. Jebin is gone.
But the collateral damage...
Yes. I was so outraged. Because the numbers have to be perfectly even for the trial marriages to work, Alex is forced to leave the show too. She didn't do anything wrong. She followed every rule. She was just a victim of Jebin's clown behavior. She deserved a trial marriage with Killian, or at the very least, a free vacation in that corporate apartment away from Jebin.
It was highly unfair, but the production math didn't lie. They needed even couples. But wait, the choice ceremony isn't done malfunctioning? Because we haven't talked about Idris.
The premature proposal. We're sitting at the table, the tension is thick, people are choosing their trial partners, and Idris just stands up, pulls out a ring, and proposes to Jessica Grace right there before the trial marriages even start.
Let's analyze the timing and the psychology here. Idris spent the whole week staring blankly at women, offering zero emotional depth, and asking them about burnt marks. He built zero connections. He looked around that table and realized he was about to be the last kid picked in dodgeball. He knew nobody wanted to choose him for a trial marriage. So instead of facing the public rejection of the trial marriage phase, he panics.
Wait, you genuinely think it was just a panic proposal? You don't think he had a sudden realization of her worth, like a romantic epiphany?
Absolutely not. Idris giving her a ring right then is like a failing student pulling the fire alarm during a final exam.
Oh my God.
It is pure panic to avoid being tested. He offered her a shut-up ring to trap her and allow them to exit the show gracefully before his lack of charm and emotional unavailability was fully exposed to the cameras. It was self-preservation.
Wow. When you put it like that, pulling the fire alarm, it totally strips the romance away. But she accepted it. She was so desperate for the validation that she took the ring, knowing deep down it was given out of fear, not love. So they leave, leaving us with the final 4 couples for the trial marriages. Let's review the newly formed nightmare couples.
First, we have David and Monica. They pair up based on what looks like extremely high physical chemistry. David clearly loves blondes. But literally on night 1, the very first night in their shared apartment, Monica ends up crying in the dark.
Because David refuses to open up emotionally. He shuts her down immediately when she tries to have a real conversation. But I have to push back on you here, babe. Is David actually incapable of opening up because of his deep childhood trauma regarding his parents' divorce? Or is he just putting up a massive wall so Monica doesn't realize he's actually just incredibly shallow?
That is the million-dollar question, and frankly, I lean heavily towards shallow. I think he uses the "I process things alone as a man" because of my past excuse to avoid having to show a depth he simply does not possess. He wanted a fun, physical 3 weeks with a hot blonde, And when she sat on the couch and demanded emotional intimacy and vulnerability, he short-circuited. He doesn't have the tools.
Spot on. Then we have Blake and Ashley. They bond over both being from Texas and wanting stability.
It is the least sexy pairing I've ever witnessed. It feels like watching two middle managers negotiate a corporate merger over a spreadsheet. You want 2 kids, I want 3. Let's average it to 2.5 and maximize our lifestyle output.
It really does. There's zero spark. Then we have Killian and Hayley. Hayley chooses him because he actually shows emotional intelligence and validates her feelings, unlike Blake, who just stared at her.
Sure, they bond over discussing their feelings, but let's remember the data. He is a known admitted cheater. So good luck building a secure emotional foundation in 3 weeks with a man whose own long-term girlfriend needs his iPhone passcode to sleep at night.
Good point. And finally, we have Luke and Casey, the leftover partners. Their original people, Monica and David, basically skipped off into the sunset together based on pure lust, leaving Luke and Casey sitting in the dust, totally shell-shocked.
They are purely trauma bonding over being rejected. It's incredibly sad to watch. They are just clinging to each other like life rafts.
Wait, let me challenge you on that because I feel really strongly about this. Trauma bonding gets a terrible rap in pop psychology, but can't shared heartbreak actually lead to real, profound empathy? Isn't finding someone who understands exactly what you were going through, like the exact pain of being discarded on national television, isn't that a decent foundation for a fresh start? If you both know the pain of betrayal, you're less likely to inflict it on someone else.
Empathy, yes. They have profound empathy for each other. But is it a foundation for a healthy, long-lasting romantic relationship? Absolutely not. Think about the mechanics of it. When the shared trauma fades, when the show is over and the sting of David and Monica wears off, what is actually left connecting Luke and Casey? Pity is not a sustainable aphrodisiac. They are a support group of 2, not a romantic partnership.
You're so deeply analytical and cynical. I want to believe that 2 broken hearts can heal each other. But you might be right. The spark might just be shared panic. Which brings us perfectly to our first segment of the evening. Let's sift through the emotional rubble of these first 3 episodes and play a little game we like to call Flag It.
The rules of Flag It are very simple. We take 3 specific moments from the show and categorize them as either a genuine red flag, a moment of growth, or a decision nobody understands.
I will start with the genuine red flag. And honestly, it is glaring. It's blinding. It's Jabin stating out loud to the cameras and the other cast members that he wants his future wife to be his new mom who cooks and cleans for him.
It is peak man-child behavior, but it's more insidious than just being lazy. It's not just a red flag, it's a billboard warning of impending doom. By saying he wants a new mom, he is actively looking for a domestic servant whom he doesn't have to respect as an equal.
Exactly.
He brings 0 emotional maturity, 0 financial independence, and 0 respect to the table, yet he demands full maternal care. It is weaponized incompetence disguised as traditionalism. He wants the authority of a patriarch with the responsibilities of a toddler.
Run, Alex, run, and never look back. Okay, what is our moment of growth?
I am proudly giving the moment of growth to Luke. At the choice dinner, when Jebin's aggressive, profanity-laced note was exposed by Nick Lachey, Luke didn't just sit there uncomfortably looking at his plate like the other guys.
He really stepped up.
He actually stepped up, raised his voice, and firmly stated that speaking to a woman like that is entirely unacceptable and that he wouldn't want Jebin anywhere near his ex, Monica.
Yes. I got chills when he did that. It was such a quiet but powerful moment of actual positive masculinity. Amidst all these guys who just want hall passes and are objectifying the women, Luke showed real protective integrity. He stood up for a standard of respect, not just for his partner, but for Alex. I loved him for that.
It was a rare glimmer of emotional maturity on a show completely devoid of it. Now, for the final category, decision nobody understands.
This absolutely has to go to David, giving Casey 3 consecutive promise rings over the course of 5 years. I am still spiraling over the logistics of this. 3 rings.
It makes no sense, physically, financially, or emotionally. Do you stack them? Like, do they interlock into a sort of Voltron of Birkin promises?
Right. Does she wear one on her index finger, one on her thumb, and one on a chain around her neck like Frodo Baggins?
Yeah.
And what do they even symbolize at this point? Is the first one for I promise to stay, the second for I'm sorry for downloading Tinder, and the third for I promise I'll think about getting engaged eventually? What promise is less to make?
It's relationship inflation. He keeps printing new currency, but there is nothing backing it. The value of the promise ring has completely plummeted in their relationship economy. It's a decision nobody understands, least of all Casey, who is sitting there with 3 pieces of meaningless metal while her biological clock ticks.
Truly tragic.
Hmm.
Okay, moving on to our next segment. Since these people are making life-altering relationship decisions based on a handful of awkward pool parties and shared cocktails, let's run our newly formed trial couples through our official Snark Squad compatibility test.
We are going to rate these newly formed trial couples on a scale of 1 to 10 across 5 crucial categories: communication, trust, emotional maturity, ability to compromise, and long-term potential.
Let's start with the beautiful disaster that is David and Monica.
Well, physical connection isn't a category, but if it were, it's a solid 9. They clearly wanted to rip each other's clothes off from day one, but emotional maturity, I'm giving them a hard 0.
A hard, unforgiving 0. The proof is right there in the footage. Night 1, Monica tries to talk about her feelings, her fears about the experiment, and David immediately shuts her down, says men process things alone, and literally walks into the bedroom, leaving her crying in the dark on a strange couch in a strange apartment.
Communication is a 2, only because they speak the same language. Trust is a 1, because Monica already realizes he sold her a false bill of goods about being this deep, misunderstood guy. Long-term potential, 0. This dynamic will combust before the 3 weeks are up because lust cannot sustain a living arrangement.
Agreed. Next up, Killian and Hayley.
I will give them a decent score on communication, maybe a 6. They actually bond over discussing their feelings, analyzing their past, which Hayley desperately needed after Blake's icy silence.
Yes, but trust. That has to be a 2. Let's remember the core facts. Killian is a self-admitted cheater. His own original girlfriend requires a passcode just to feel safe in the same room as his phone. How on earth is Hayley supposed to trust him in a highly volatile, highly produced trial marriage surrounded by alcohol and cameras?
Exactly. You can't build trust on a cracked foundation. Ability to compromise is low because Hayley is incredibly rigid in her emotional demands. If she doesn't get exactly the reaction she wants, she explodes. Long-term potential is maybe a 4, entirely dependent on how much intensive couples therapy Killian is willing to pay for.
Fair. Let's look at Blake and Ashley, the Texans.
Long-term potential and ability to compromise, I'll give them an 8. They align perfectly on paper. They both want traditional roles. They both have checklists. They both want a predictable life.
But passion, trust.
Right.
It's giving corporate merger. It's giving, we decided to synergize our assets to maximize our lifestyle output. There is 0 spark there. I give their emotional connection a 3. If they get married, it will be a very polite, very boring life.
It's very sterile. It's a marriage of convenience. And finally, Luke and Casey.
Okay, I am rooting for them. Despite your cynicism, I give them an 8 on trust and a 9 on emotional maturity. They are both navigating this awful public rejection with a lot of grace, and they are holding space for each other's sadness.
See, I disagree slightly on the long-term viability. I think their trust is a 7 because they are both hypervigilant right now, but their long-term potential is a 3. As I argued earlier, their entire foundation is built on being the left-behind partners. It's a trauma bond. It's a support group.
I still think that shared heartbreak can foster real empathy. If you both know what it feels like to be betrayed by a partner on national TV, maybe that creates a safe space where you promise to never do that to each other. Shared heartbreak is a decent foundation for a fresh start. You know they won't cheat on you because they know how bad it hurts.
That is a beautiful thought for a friendship bestie. But a marriage requires active desire, not just a mutual fear of being hurt again. I'm not buying stock in it.
We shall see. I am holding out hope. It just perfectly transitions us into segment 3, the Ultimatum Survival Guide. Because honestly, if any of our Snark Squad ever loses their minds, forgets everything we've taught them, and voluntarily signs up for a show like this, we need to provide a psychological roadmap for survival.
Rule number 1, and this is the one concept they absolutely need to understand before signing that NDA and joining the cast. You are voluntarily handing your partner a hall pass and a camera crew.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
You cannot act shocked, appalled, or victimized when they use it. You brought a hungry person to a buffet, handed them a plate, and then threw a massive fit when they picked up a dinner roll. This is the premise of the experiment. You asked them to date someone else.
Yes. Which leads directly into the biggest mistake everyone makes on this show, season after season, thinking you are the exception to the rule.
Exactly. Look at Casey. Casey genuinely believed that David was just playing the game. She thought he was just going through the motions for the producer's sake, until she had to sit there at the mixer and watch him happily, aggressively flirt with a younger blonde woman who was a self-proclaimed high-maintenance upgrade.
It shattered her reality. because she thought, we have 5 years, we have 2 dogs, we have a mortgage. He wouldn't actually look at someone else. Babe, you dragged a man with documented commitment issues onto a dating show surrounded by gorgeous women. You are not the exception. You are the casualty.
Which brings us to the most important piece of advice in this survival guide. The conversation you actually need to have before issuing an ultimatum. And you need to have this conversation privately, in your living room, without Nick and Vanessa Lachey present, and without alcohol.
Yes. You need to look your partner directly in the eye and ask the hardest question. Are you actually afraid of the concept of marriage, or are you just afraid of marrying me?
That is the dagger. That is the truth nobody wants to face. Because 90% of the time on this show, it's the latter. They aren't afraid of commitment, they just don't want to commit to you. They like the comfort you provide, but they don't see you as their final destination. And watching them instantly fall for a trial partner, watching David instantly drop his walls for Monica, proves it every single season.
So my overarching question to you, analyzing all of this psychological data, does this experiment actually help relationships, or does it just create chaos?
Analytically speaking, it is 100% pure, unadulterated chaos designed by producers to normalize emotional abuse for our entertainment. It rips open deep-seated insecurities, forces toxic comparisons, and destroys any baseline of trust that existed. You cannot build trust by forcing betrayal. It does not help anyone.
Ugh, I hate that you were right. I want to believe in the romance of it all, that they learn something profound about themselves, realize what they lost, and run back into each other's arms in the rain, but it really is just trauma TV. I mourn the lost romances that could have been fixed with regular, boring, off-camera couples counseling.
Save your mourning for the reality stars, babe. They knew what they signed up for. Let's move to our final segment. Who would survive the experiment? Looking at this current roster, who's actually going to make it out of this alive and better for it?
Okay, draft style. I'll take the category of person most ready for marriage. And I have to give it to Luke.
A solid, data-backed pick.
He really is. He's hopelessly devoted. He's incredibly thoughtful. He communicates his feelings clearly without being volatile. And he stands up for other women, like Alex, when they're being mistreated. Even if Monica is completely taking him for granted and holding out for a guy with a bigger portfolio, Luke possesses the actual tools to be a good husband.
I agree completely. Now, for the person who needs more time, I am handing this straight to Blake.
Really? Over Jebin?
Jebin doesn't just need time. Jebin needs a time machine, an intensive behavioral therapist, and a mother figure who isn't his wife. But Blake is 26 years old, gave an ultimatum after only a year and a half of dating, and thinks a wife is just a box to check off next to buy a house, get a promotion, and max out the 401k.
You're right. Giving an ultimatum that young, that early in a relationship, means you don't want to build a life with a specific, nuanced person. You just want to cast an actress for the role of wife in the movie of your life. He needs to slow way down and learn how to actually connect with a human being.
Now, who is your pick for person who learned the most?
It absolutely has to be Casey. It is so painful to watch her cry on that couch, but she is learning the incredibly hard way that a man's actions speak way louder than his jewelry budget. Watching David flirt with Monica showed her exactly who he is when the pressure's off. 3 promise rings do not mean a single thing if he drops your hand the second a shiny new object walks into the room. She is learning her own worth through absolute fire.
She's going to come out of this stronger, even if it hurts right now. The illusion has been shattered, which is painful but necessary. Finally, the person who confused everyone. I think we both know who takes the crown here.
Idris.
I'm going to analyze this man one last time. The blank stares, the dissociation, the bizarre sipping of his sparkling water while people poured the deepest trauma out to him, deflecting vulnerability by asking a woman about burnt marks in the middle of a flirtatious conversation.
And the mid-dinner proposal. The ultimate panic button.
He literally short-circuited the entire premise of the show. He pulled the fire alarm just to avoid doing the actual emotional work of the trial marriage. He knew he couldn't fake it for 3 weeks, so he bolted. He confused the cast, he confused Nick Lachey, and he profoundly confused me.
He is walking, talking avoidance. Well, babes, that is our recap of the glorious psychologically damaging mess that is the start of Season 4. But as always, we want to turn it over to you, the Snark Squad. Because we talk a big game from the safety of our couches, but real life is always messier.
So we have a few questions for you to chew on this week. Be brutally honest with yourself.
Number 1, would you ever, in your actual life, give your partner a televised ultimatum?
Number 2, could you genuinely survive a trial marriage? Could you sit in an apartment, help your partner pack their bags, and watch them go live with someone else for 3 weeks, knowing they're sharing a bed?
I would be in jail. Without question, I would be incarcerated.
You would definitely be in jail. I would be testifying at your trial. And finally, number 3. Are you joining my health girl era of green juice and Pilates shaking, or are you joining the realistic couch era?
I think we know which one is more sustainable when the drama gets good. Thank you all so much for listening and for being the absolute best squad on the internet.
Before we go, consider this final thought. If it takes the absolute threat of losing you, the threat of national television and another person, to make your partner finally commit, are they actually committing to you, or are they just committing to their fear of being alone? Chew on that. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us 5-star review because anything less is a red flag, and share this recap with another reality TV loving babe in your life.
Stay honest, stay chaotic, and we'll see you on the snark side.